there's no shame in being a sex worker, and sex work is work, and because there's a demand for it. The blame is always put on the sex workers, and nobody looks down on the people that pay for sex.
Across the country, more and more students are turning to sex work as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. For some, the work is empowering and enjoyable, but for others, they feel like they have no choice. Jessica is a former student sex worker who has post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of enforced sex work.
I began my sex work journey in 2014. I started off going on sugar daddy dates for money. I was then later forced into full service sex work by someone I loved.
Sex work covers a wide range of services. Some workers create and sell sexual content online. Others engage in live webcam performances or erotic dances. And some workers are paid to go on dates or engage in sexual acts.
I felt empowered when I had a choice, but when I had no choice out of financial desperation and the fact I was told I didn't have a choice, I began to lose the ability to feel human by the end of it.
After graduating, she set up Support for Student Sex Workers, which is the only support group of its kind in the UK. It's based in Manchester and is helping student sex workers get through the pandemic.
There's been an overall increase in sex work altogether, partly because people have been let go from their jobs temporarily and permanently, and universal credit doesn't pay enough for people to live on, which is a positive thing, because in the sex work is becoming more and more accepted as a job, but it presents its risks because less clients means people are more likely to accept.
Jessica says she doesn't want any sex worker to go through what she went through as a student. She was trapped and desperate for money.
So throughout my experience, I went to several mental health institutions for support, and they turned me away because I was a sex worker, even though I begged them to help me stop. I had no family to help me. I was just completely alone with it and struggling so much. I remember there was one time where there was a glass of water in front of me and I couldn't get up to get the water. And I was getting turned away by the end of it because I couldn't do it. I wasn't up to the job. And the last time I did sex work ever, I cried in the middle of it, and he let me keep the money and go home.
Well, that was quite difficult to listen to at times. Jessica's clearly been through some horrific experiences, but she's managed to turn what happened to her into something positive, a force for good. She was keen to stress, though, that for some students, sex work is a choice and a positive one for them, but for others, particularly those in poverty, it's simply not. Because of COVID-19, more and more university students are turning to sex work, and so the need for support is growing. Figures from a 2020 survey show 10% of students would consider sex work in a financial emergency, double the number compared to 2019. And another survey revealed that 7% of students say they've actually turned to sex work during the pandemic to get by. So I'm on my way to meet Rose. That's not her real name. In fact, we're going to revoice her words because we need to protect her identity, because she's worried that people close to her may find out that she's a current student sex worker. Effectively, she lost her job in a restaurant, and that is why she turned to online sex work.
Initially it was only lingerie, and I did that for the first 2 months, and then I decided to go topless.
So do you have a line?
Nothing below the waist.
So if you weren't doing it, where do you think you'd be financially?
I'd be struggling. Even though I live with family, I don't like to live there for free. I like to pay my keep. I'm not doing anything that obscene, and I'm not meeting people in real life. I'm just acting and modelling, and I'm earning money that I can eventually buy a house with.
Rose now earns hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds every month by posting content on a subscription website. Some creators use the site to upload explicit adult content, while others use it to post endless selfies, as long as their subscribers are willing to pay for them. So you find it liberating?
Very, very liberating. I'm in control of my own content, I'm in control of my own body, and I can do whatever I want with it, because you can set your own levels.
Do you feel safe doing it?
Most of the time. I'm not going to lie and be oblivious that someone could, figure out who I am and come up to me in the street. Some websites aren't encrypted, so your content isn't private. I've had something leaked onto a very dark website once, which did scare me. It honestly did make me feel a bit unsure and unsafe and not sure if I should just quit there and then.
Rose will graduate from university next year, but the future for students like her could be particularly tough.
We wouldn't be surprised to see that in this year, what we are expecting to be one of the toughest years financially for students for a very long time, to see that next year the number of students who have actually done some kind of sex work to have jumped in some way.
Thousands of jobs have been lost in the hospitality and retail sector, and the decline in financial support from parents, also hit by COVID, means students will face extra financial pressure for the foreseeable. And it's those who feel forced who become vulnerable and at risk.